the window being this hardcore, sounds like a good time to me. All right guys, the 42's in the garage and this one is gonna be crazy. Whew, that thing was a pain in the butt to get in here. This thing feels like it doesn't want to come back alive. Every once in a while, when you guys do a lot of restorations, some of you out there comment in your comment section here, every once in a while you run into one of those cars that just doesn't want to get brought back. That's kind of the feeling that this thing's got going with it so far. Hopefully I'm wrong about that and it goes good from now on. So, huge plans for this one. This one, kind of have it on a 2-year, I kind of have an idea in my mind of everything that I'm doing, except for when I started building this garage, it killed all my other projects. But now I'm not building a garage anymore, I'm back to work. So I always got a little bit of a mind of how long something's gonna take. I'm kind of looking at this one as a 2-year project. Well, my flat tire up here kept wanting to roll into the garage when I was backing it out and when I'm trying to turn it up here. So I got good tires on the back. I got one good tire on the front, one good tire in the back, and I'm gonna make 2 good tires in the front, just so it'll roll. But you'll see here in a minute why I didn't want it to roll, because my garage over there is downhill. I didn't want it to be a good rolling car and roll right in the back of my truck while I'm trying to pull it. Really, I'm gonna go at just strengthening it, making the floorboard sturdy, then go right into the chop, because I want to see it chopped really, really bad. I got a running motor for this, flathead. I got a rebuilt transmission. I got wheels and tires and interior. I already got the interior for it. I got a lot of stuff for this car. So I'm ready to pull the gun on some big modifications. But this one, I'm gonna go all out. Wow, here it is. It's been stored in there for maybe 4 years, and I've just been drooling over it. Absolutely drooling over this car for 4 years. Just waiting for the day that I can start playing with it. I've been buying parts for it for about 4 years. I mean, I got rubber gaskets, I got new rims and tires, I got a running motor, I got a rebuilt transmission for this thing. So even though it's been sitting there, it looks a little decrepit, I have a huge pile of parts for this car. I'm so excited. I got dash pieces and I've bought a different upholstery to try on it. Oh man, I'm very excited. I'm an enthusiastic person when it comes to starting a new project for sure. And I just think this car is so pretty. I'm a little biased. I grew up in a 47 Ford, so I have a little biasness to these type of cars. Oh man. Aha. I was gonna say it opened when I parked it. But whatever trim I don't have on the outside, I have it on the inside. Some typical rust, like step sides, floorboards. But I don't think it's to the point where it's intimidating at all. I think it's okay. And this lower pan is rusted. Can't really see it underneath the bumper here, but that lower pan, the whole thing's gonna need to be replaced. I'm going to take the taillights out of it anyways and smooth that out and put it on the bumper, so that's not a problem. I'm gonna cut the whole roof off, so it's a perfect candidate for that. It's actually a rust-free roof. I mean, we got this surface rust, but that ain't nothing. The drip rail's good. Drip rail doesn't need any work at all, and anyone who restores these type of cars know the drip rails can be a nightmare to fix. There ain't no issues there, so I'll be cutting up a perfectly good car. People love to say that. That's fine with me. It's gonna be perfectly my car. Okay. house on the road, 1964. Probably its first bath in 50 years. Looks kind of good, all slicked down and wet. Every time I have a plan to keep a car original paint, it's always just a little too rusty to do that. And originally I wanted to keep this original paint, but this car is also just a little too rusty to do that. I'm not gonna drive it around with cab mounts rusted out. It looks good. This little headlight came off. It's not on the top clip, looks like. Good looking car, if I say so myself. All right, so this is why I didn't want it to roll very good, because I'm pulling it downhill into my garage, and I don't want it to be able to roll on its own and hit my truck. And this damn thing is trying to hit everything. I know I'm pulling it by myself, but now it's trying to turn into this tree. And it's a pretty dent-free car. I'm trying to keep it that way, so wish me luck. Wow, finally in the garage. Great space. Got the Pontiac here, my Roadster there. Plenty of room in between. I'm gonna push the Pontiac back over and keep working on that, but this looks good in here. Man, I can't wait to start playing with this. I think it's a great looking car. Very happy to have it in a garage where I can actually start playing with it. Now let's show you what the inside looks like a little bit more now that it's actually in here. This driver's window broke out a really long time ago. You can see the floor is really rusted on this side and not as rusted on the other side. The dash is flaking, but when I first got the car, I didn't really see anything thin. I'm definitely gonna have to fix some rough pitting areas, but this style dash, very easy to refine. Everything on this whole dash is replaceable. I actually have another radio. I have another gauges for this. I already have another pad for the top. I already have that little speaker vent there in the middle for it. So, I mean, I just got to fix some of the steel. The dash is fine. And the steering's great. Steering box, completely rebuildable. This thing has everything in it. It's got all the trim. Even the keys are hanging out of the bottom of the ignition. There's going to be some rust work to do. So I'm just gonna fix the floor and the running boards, and then I'm gonna brace the body, and I'm gonna cut the roof off of it. So if I haven't already edited in the video, we'll go down exactly how that plan is to cut the roof off. Of course, I'm gonna cut it into a Carson top. Check this drawing out. Chris Piscatelli drew this for me. I sat down with him. I went over all the details of everything that I want. He actually wrote them into the descriptions of what I was doing. But real quick, just going over Chris's picture, this is basically pretty dang close to what's in my brain. I want big scallops, old school scallops on the front. I want them to be so big the car looks like it's white when it's driving at you. When it drives past, it's actually a black car. I think right now, you never know, plans always change, but right now I think I'm going to paint it with a roller with lacquer paint, old school paint. Then I'm going to wet sand it really, really nice, and I'm going to polish it. So old school style. Back then they would have used a brush, but kind of modern. Most of us guys who are doing that type of paint job know really expensive roller, wet sanding it. Still really, really important to have a clean environment in your garage. And you can actually get some killer paint job out of roll-on lacquer paint job. So it's got to go on thick so you can polish it out really, really good. It looks awesome, but it still has that semi-high gloss that a lacquer will give you. Old school look. I'm going to have a removable B-pillar because in this picture in 1939, I think this was the last body style to have a sedan convertible. The B-pillars were removable, so when the top went down, you take the B-pillars off, roll the windows down. Car looks awesome as a convertible like that with the removable B-pillars. This is going to be a Carson top, so it's not going to be collapsible. It's going to be one big top that comes off, one solid unit. But I am going to take the top off a lot. If it's the summertime and I can park it in the garage, I'll have the top off all summer, put the top back on in the wintertime. My goal is to just daily drive this thing. It's gonna have a flathead, 3 on the tree first, because that's what I have. But I would like to sell that flathead and 3 on the tree after I get this thing running and driving. I'd like to sell it or trade it to somebody with a small block Chevy. I would want a 327 or 283 with the Muncie 4-speed. That's the goal for this car. I know a lot of people hate hearing small blocks, but if you're someone who builds a lot of cars, you know, small blocks are king still. So I want to put a 327 on it, 3 deuce, old school valve covers. It'd still look really nice in this car, but it's going to be so radically customized. I want the motor and transmission to be very simple. I want to be able to get parts for it anywhere. I want it to be very affordable because there's going to be so much other crazy stuff on this. The hood isn't going to get open in a car show. It's not that kind of car. Hood's going to stay shut. My original idea was I wanted the windshield to be no bigger than a dollar bill. I kind of taped it off a little bit here. So you can kind of see this is the dollar bill range. So this is about 8-inch chop. This is a 6-inch chop. And I just taped it out to see what each one looks like so I could sit around while I'm working on other cars, look over at it and kind of figure out which one I want. I don't know yet. 6 sounds cool. That leaves it where the steering wheel reaches to the top of the windshield. So when I say 6, I'm talking about the start of the roof. So we'll still have roof and headspace above. So there'll still be headspace. A lot of the hardcore chop cars that I've done, your head and your eyes, so your eyesight is level with the roof. That's not too bad because you're not ducking down to look out. 6 makes me duck down a little bit with how the seat is now. But I told myself when I got this car, I'm willing to take the seat risers and put the seat completely on the floor to have the chop even crazier. So we'll just see how that goes. Once I get the roof off and I can eyeball how I'm going to make the top and how that's going to curve with the trunk, that's gonna really decide how hard it can be chopped. So, you know, in the end, that roof line has to match the trunk. It can't just be, you know, just a fart going straight across all of a sudden. It still has to flow. That's what I'm going for. The flow still has to be there. So I can't just kill the flow. So the trunk really is going to determine how much I can chop out of it. But I'm willing to throw the seats all the way on the floor to get even more of a chop. Just something crazy. So here's where this gets really cool. Now, check out these plans that I found. When I got it and it wouldn't sell, I started making up plans for building it. And I started looking into the Carson top really, really hard because that's something I've never done before. And the only way you're gonna get better in the hot rod industry is to keep doing things you haven't done before that challenge you, makes you better and better and better. So when I was doing all that research and looking around, I found these really cool plans. Now here's where I hope the internet will help me out. So this guy's signature is on every one of these plans. Harry, and I think that's a B, like B-E-U-T, Butley, Harry Butley, and I cannot make that last word out there in the back. It's like Harry Butley Brooks or Brule or Bradle or something like that. I want to give this guy credit for drawing this out because a lot of my plans are coming from his plans. Now, I'm not doing it verbatim, but man, he really laid out an awesome blueprint of how this is going to go. I'd like to give this guy credit. If he's still alive, I'd love to talk to him. I'd love to see what he actually built. These are just plans. I couldn't find a car that he built. You know, I like to give credit when credit's due. The internet, please, if you ever heard of this guy's name, you've seen this before, if you could link us up, that'd be awesome. Or if I could just actually get his full real name to at least give him credit for the big portion of this idea. The biggest thing that I'm trying to avoid is a 90s hot rod custom convertible look. I'm trying to stay as far away from that as I possibly can. We kind of joke, call them Boydsters, Boyd Coddington style hot rod, we call them Boydsters. I grew up watching Boyd Coddington, watched all the TV show, I loved it, I loved all of his cars. But that being said, the very last thing I want to do is make this look like a Boyd Coddington 90s style custom. I want this to be very much 1957 custom cruiser, you know, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Tail dragger, you know, just super, super late 50s custom hot rod. So it's gonna be loud and low. I'll put skid plates on it before I raise the suspension up at all. This is gonna be my rowdy little hot rod. I'm very excited. I could cut it right now if I had the time to cut it right now. I need to spend a whole day on just measurements and drawing things out. So you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing right now is I'm getting my lines out. So while I'm doing other things in the garage, I can peek over at it and see if I want to go lower or higher. Right now is the perfect time to get in my mind where all the cuts are going to be. What am I doing with the vent window? You know, how's it going to taper in the back? How hard do I want to taper it? It's going to be a convertible, so like the 39, it has to drip up in the back so I can save the trunk. Then also, I might cut all the way down the trunk structure and push the whole trunk down so the top can be even shorter. I'm going for as rowdy as I can possibly get. I'm not going for a simple custom. I'm not going for, you know, I don't know how else to explain it. I want it to be super rowdy and obnoxious and ridiculous. I don't want anything to be subtle on this at all. Nothing subtle. So I'm getting in this so you guys can see it. This helps me too. This is something else that's going to help me. Me sitting in it with the video of where the two possible cuts are going to be. And the seat could probably go down 2 or 3 inches. I could even make a custom seat just to make the top even smaller. So, you know, you guys can see where I'm going with this. So here is 6, here's 6, here's 8. So I'm okay because they're still gonna be like 3 inches above the windshield. So you gotta keep that in mind. Like a 36 Ford, when you chop a 36 Ford, you can bring the roof super low. But the problem is how much headroom is above the windshield, and a 34 pickup is a lot. You could chop it hard, but then it's way below your eyesight. So, you know, we want gnarly, but we still want to be able to drive it. And if I have to dip my head down a little bit to look out the window, I'm all right with that. So this is kind of the knuckle dragger, you know, chop car I'm going for. Now, with the hard chop here, I still have headroom here. There's inches above this windshield. But the fun thing, I think is fun, is the top of the steering wheel is pretty close to the top of the windshield line. I love that idea. I think that's cool. I'm thinking about putting a shifter in here that drags off of the headliner in here, you know? So I'm liking the idea of it being pretty hard. I'm leaning somewhere in between these two. I don't want to do 6. I don't think that's enough. And 8 is somewhere where it's pushing it. So I might go in between is kind of what I'm thinking, honestly. But the window being this hardcore sounds like a good time to me. Oh shit, I gotta get out of here. All right, so there's the window that's in my head that's just me going crazy with ideas right now, and I'm trying to put them all on the straight and narrow so I have a game plan. I know exactly what everything's gonna do before I start cutting, so very excited to have this in the shop. Might be a little bit before I actually start cutting on it and working on it, but it needed to be in here. I needed to start looking at it and thinking about it. So I hope you guys are excited as I am. This is gonna be a main focus this year. Then on rod style, we're gonna have the main focus on the Blue Martian. So we'll be doing back and forth between those two cars. Thank you guys. Make sure you tune in to the channel for the rest of this build. We'll see you then.